Hideaki Anno's 1996 anime Neon Genesis Evangelion is debatably the medium's best attempt at character writing to date. Every character has a very specific purpose in the overall narrative, and today I'd like to take a look at a character whom I feel to be under-recognized, Misato Katsuragi. This analysis will contain minor spoilers for both the original series and End of Eva. Before we delve into Misato's role in the story, I think that it's important to recap her background. At the age of 14, Misato accompanied her father on the Katsuragi expedition trip to Antarctica, where they discovered Adam, the first angel. While conducting a contact experiment, the team accidentally damaged Adam's Lance of Longinus, unknowingly beginning the second impact. In the ensuing explosion, Misato's father sacrificed his own life to lock her into a protective capsule. All throughout her life, Misato had always hated her father, as he had always prioritized his work over her and her mother. But now, Misato didn't know what to think. The man that she had always hated had just sacrificed himself to save her. Misato was left confused, scared, and an orphan. At this point, Misato began a long period of self-isolation and mutism. In episode 12, Fuyutsuki is told that Misato's silence had been ongoing for upwards of 2 years, but it's likely that this lasted roughly 4 to 5 years, as that's when she began college. There, she met Ritsuko Akagi. Ritsuko described Misato as a very talkative woman, as if she was trying to make up for lost time, referring to her 2+ years of silence. Misato became very close friends with Ritsuko, being the only person who treated her like anyone else, as opposed to the daughter of a renowned scientist. The other main figure in Misato's college days was her boyfriend, Ryoji Kaji. Misato fell hard for Kaji, even skipping classes and appointments to spend an entire week in bed with him at one point. Kaji later states that Misato had been very open with him in those days. Sometime later, Misato comes to the realization that the reason she loves Kaji is because he reminds her of her father. This terrifies her, causing her to break up with him without properly explaining it until years later. After graduation, Misato joins the newly formed organization NERV and slowly ascends the ranks. Cut to the beginning of the series in the year 2014, Misato is a captain and the head of the operations department of NERV. Her main duty is leading the Evangelion pilots in the ensuing angel battles. Here, Misato shows her cool-headed nature and strategic planning abilities. To contrast this militaristic personality, Misato invites Shinji, and later Asuka, to live with her in her new apartment, showing the beginnings of a motherly side. In her home life, Misato begins showing her slobbish nature and her love to chill out with a cold beer. Misato is a fully rotund character, giving off totally different appeals both on and off duty. Misato is an incredibly intelligent and diligent woman, able to deal with huge amounts of stress while still being able to think fast and deliver divisive decisions in a snap. Yet she rarely takes this home with her. Her ability to relax and just do whatever allows her to become a combination maternal figure, sexual desire, and friend to Shinji. Now that we've established who Misato is, let's go back to the original question. Why is she so important to the narrative of Neon Genesis Evangelion? We'll begin with the most obvious part of Misato, her overall relevance to the themes of sex and love. As we all know, Shinji may as well be the poster child for the Oedipus complex, a Freudian theory that claims that all men innately want to have sex with their mother and murder their father. His hatred of Gendo, implied love for the clone of his mother, Rei, shows this rather openly. Misato parallels Shinji's Oedipus complex with an Electra complex of her own, a proposed theory that's essentially a gender-swapped version of Oedipus. Sex with dad, murder mom. While Misato only talks about her mother once, leaving that question still in the air, the whole reason she broke up with Kaji is because she realized that she essentially loved a man who was her father. Now, this Electra complex is important because, as I've already stated, it parallels Shinji's Oedipus. This provides similarity between the two, as well as a point for them to grow from, even if they don't realize it within the context of the show. Beyond this, one of the major themes of Eva is growing up and the desire to stop being a kid or being immature. To Shinji, this is what Misato represents, the fully grown woman who he's suddenly living with. In episode 2, Shinji finds himself in Misato's bathroom looking at her bras and underwear just hanging up everywhere, and this understandably makes him blush. Later, Kensuke and Toji's obsession with Misato often leads to Shinji blushing or getting uncomfortable because he likes her too, though he may not fully understand it. Misato is not only the first girl to ever show him any sort of affection, but she's also a beautiful, fully grown woman. Shinji loves her in the way that a kindergartner falls in love with his teacher, a woman whom he enjoys spending time with. This is, I think, best illustrated in episode 20, where Misato is presented in Shinji's mental image after his ego border was destroyed in the fight with Zero L. He sees Misato, Rei, and Asuka in the nude, asking him to become one with me in both mind and body. This can mean one of two things: human instrumentality, or, as many interpret it, a self-fulfillment fantasy by a 14-year-old boy who's yet to make any meaningful romantic or sexual relationships. Misato's presence with the other more accepted romantic options so that she too is viewed, at least in Ano and Shinji's minds, as an acceptable third route. But now another question is raised. How does Misato feel about Shinji? Misato has felt responsible for Shinji ever since his coming to live with her, but in their year together, she came to feel a sort of maternal protectiveness towards him. It's implied throughout the series, but shown quite clearly in the end of Evangelion, where she states that she had failed to be a mother to Shinji. Now, any reasonable person would ask, why does Misato act sexually around Shinji if she views him as a son figure? In episode 23, as confirmed by Ano, Misato offers her body to Shinji, completely ready to have sex. This isn't because she loves Shinji as a man, but rather because she doesn't know how to go about comforting others or even showing her affections. Remember, we first learned about the hedgehog's dilemma and how it relates to Misato. As a recap, the hedgehog's dilemma is the inability to get closer to others in fear of hurting them. Misato lived for at least 2 years completely separate from everyone else, and even when she came out of her breakdown, she was still living in the world as an orphan post-Second Impact. The first 2 people she made strong connections with were Ritsuko and Kaji, the latter of which taught her how to show affection through sex. Thus, when she needed to comfort Shinji and show him that he's cared for, what did she do? She offered Shinji sex. The same thought process is shown in her final scene in End of Evangelion, where she kisses Shinji and promises the rest of the adult stuff will come later. Her grown-up kiss scene is truly the thematic accumulation of Misato. Happening immediately before her death, this scene ties together both of her 2 main themes, sexuality and growing up. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out my first anime analysis video. I'd like to make a lot more in the future, though I haven't settled on any sort of calendar or schedule yet, as I'm right now dealing with full-time school and full-time work. If you like this video, please be sure to like and comment. Let me know how I did and any changes I can make in order to bring up the professionalness of these videos in the future. I'd really like to be able to contribute more to the YouTube community through these anime analyses, as it's, I think just about the only thing that I know a lot about. So hey, thanks again for watching guys. See you next time.